I will now invite Judge Fausto Pocar, former president of the ICTY, to give his closing remarks.
At the conclusion of this important, significant conference of the outreach program of the tribunal, I would like to first to reiterate the thanks of the ICTY already expressed by my colleague, the Vice President of the Tribunal, Judge Edges, to, in particular, first to the sponsors, the co-sponsors of the conference, the European Union, the government of the Netherlands, and the government of Switzerland, which have made this event possible. I would like also to express my gratitude to all the persons in the tribunal and outside of the tribunal who have cooperated for the organization of the conference, an organization which I do not hesitate to state as perfect in all respects. All the four panels were characterized by an extremely interesting and rich debate based on the statements of the panelists, whom I want to thank, and to the interventions of the participants in the conference. And I think that all of them have made an excellent contribution to the success of the conference. Coming to the substance of our deliberations, it is perhaps difficult to draw now final conclusions from the debate we had today. It has been, I believe, an excellent and open opportunity to express views and proposals concerning the legacy of the ICTY and on such important issues as the archives of the tribunal, as there is the material and the moral aspects of the legacy have been variety of the themes, of the subjects raised today will have to be considered in depth and will help to shape the best policies to ensure that the legacy of the tribunal does not go lost and is used the best way possible. I, for one, take back with me a number of ideas. I listened with careful attention all the interventions have been made today. I didn't miss one. And certainly the material for reflection that's come out today is very, very, very significant. I will not try to dwell on all what has been said. I want only to take up shortly, in light of the late hour we are, a couple of questions in this conclusive statement. First, the ICTY legacy is offering, I believe, a unique opportunity to this country, as well as to the other countries of the region concerned with the events of the 90s. It's now, I believe, it has been said today by many speakers, is now to you, essentially, to this country, to make use of the legacy of the tribunal, to develop reconciliation in the country, to develop the rule of law in the country. It's true, the legacy is the legacy of the ICTY, but it's now a tool in your hands. It's a legacy that has been the product of an activity that has been done for the countries in the region. So it's been done for you, not for the ICTY as such. It's our legacy that belongs to you now. We would like that the legacy will become a tool in your hands to be used the best way possible, to guide you to a certain extent in your decisions, in your deliberations. We would like that from us will be for you useful for you, to become a basis for your work, letting aside as much as possible the confrontation that has also emerged here and there in the debate today. So my recommendation would be take that legacy, make of it the best use possible in your interest, because this is what we were aiming at. In this context, there is one aspect I want to reiterate. I already made it clear, I think, in the panel in which I participated, and it is the educational side of it. It's important this is taken up. You have the advantage of having an assessment, partial as it may be, because it's limited. Inevitably, we have clarified that the number of cases that have been taken up is limited as compared with the total of the cases that are pending or may be pending in the future before your courts. But it's an assessment that has been done by neutral people. The judges in the ICTY have been and are neutral people, have not taken any decision based on other consideration than what resulted from the records of the cases. Now, my wish is that instead of debating or continuing debating on what happened, at least you take what has been assessed by a UN body, by an impartial UN body, and make use of this assessment to build on it for the future. Because what is important, what is essentially the goal of all this exercise is that you live in a better world and that your children, your future generations may not be exposed to what happened in the country in 20 years ago and in that period of time. Now, last consideration, the archives. We have debated here, you have debated ownership of the archives, use of the archives, location of the archives. Now, the ownership of the archive that is now of the UN can be transferred, cannot be transferred. This is, I don't know what will happen exactly with that in the years to come. Certainly, for the time being, they will remain with the structure of the ICTY until they exist, be that the structures of the tribunal as such, of the residual mechanism of the tribunals. I do not know what will be decided later at a certain point. But one thing is to be clear. Whoever will be the material owner of the archives, morally, these archives are yours. And with that, I will conclude my intervention. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Judge Pocar. I will now give the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Jurriaan Kraak from the Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Netherlands has been there from the beginning, hosting the ICTY in The Hague. And after the Nuremberg and Tokyo trials, the ICTY was the first major international criminal tribunal. And apart from its impact on the development of international law, the tribunal was also of decisive importance to The Hague becoming the international law capital of the world. And as just Judge Adjus said this morning, all its 161 inductees have been brought before the tribunal. And that accomplishment not only exceeded the expectations of many, but also sent a very clear and powerful warning to the entire world. This time, those guilty of crimes against humanity in Europe will not escape justice. You can run, you can hide, but one day you will end up in The Hague, where besides having to face challenges of a legal nature, you run the risk of being subjected to the terrible ordeal of Dutch cuisine. However, the legacy of the ICTY is not limited to the number of indictments and verdicts. Its impact is more profound. By way of example, any serious breach of international humanitarian law is now considered a crime, and rape has been qualified as a war crime. And in this context, I would like to highlight one of the lines of jurisprudence as being of particular importance to Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 2004, the appeals chamber unanimously ruled that the massacre of the male inhabitants of Srebrenica enclave constituted genocide, a crime under international law. And ever since, the denial of that genocide should immediately be disqualified as a mala fides exploitation of sentiments and a mockery of the feelings of those who survived the atrocities of July 1995. The legacy of the ICTY needs to live on, and in this regard, my authorities are convinced that continued regional political support for the fight against impunity is indispensable. Completing the process of rendering justice for crimes committed during the wars in the former Yugoslavia is vital for lasting reconciliation. Also, like Ambassador Sorensen pointed out this morning, full cooperation with the ICTY remains an essential requirement for the stabilization and association process in the Western Balkans and is a critical condition for membership of the EU. And now, as the ICTY is gradually transferring its competences to the residual mechanism, the burden of responsibility for the prosecution of international crimes and war crimes will now more than ever fall upon the national authorities. And in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the role of the state court is key in this respect. And I would like to recall that through the state court, Bosnia-Herzegovina was the first country in the Balkans able to try its own war criminals in its own specialized court in its own territory. And the current attempts to undermine and weaken the state court are reasons for great concern to my government and should cease. Also, looking at the slow pace of implementation of the war crime strategy, there's another reason for concern. The amount of cases that are waiting to be dealt with is significant. The number of perpetrators that have not been brought to justice considerable. Therefore, the Netherlands authorities deem it imperative that the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina pursues with much greater vigor the proper conduct of domestic war crime trials. Political leaders should avoid statements and measures that call into question the importance of reconciliation and the need to serve justice through the prosecution of war crimes. But we are under no illusion that it is difficult and that results don't come easy, and the discussions of today made that abundantly clear. But as I said, continued commitment to the prosecution of war crimes requires regional cooperation on mutual provision of legal aid, on the exchange of evidence and on extradition, and this has been proven to be a challenge in the past. And Ambassador Sorensen made the same point this morning. And my government urges the political leaders of Bosnia and Herzegovina to prove that they take their responsibility in this respect seriously and urges them to overcome these challenges as soon as possible. Netherlands, jointly with Belgium and Slovenia, has taken the initiative to prepare a multilateral treaty on precisely these subjects for the prosecution and proper adjudication of international crimes and war crimes, the exchange of evidence between countries, the mutual provision of legal aid, and extradition are of paramount importance. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Your Honor, Excellency, in my opening statement I said that the Netherlands has been there from the beginning. We will also be there at the end, hosting the residual mechanism. And the largest burden to do justice to the legacy of the ICTY in Bosnia-Herzegovina, however, rests now on the shoulders of authorities in this country. And I can only repeat what Dutch Pocar just said. They are in a unique position to enable justice being done to so many to whom the wars of the 90s caused immeasurable misery. But let there be no doubt about our position. We are not indifferent to the sensitivities that the complexities of this region's recent history have caused. We know it's painful, we know it's difficult, and we know it will take a lot of courage of all parties and institutions concerned. We also know that it is necessary. To conclude, the Netherlands will remain committed to ICTY and to its legacy. We will continue to support its contribution to lasting peace and stability in this part of our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Now I will invite His Excellency Mr. Schaller, Ambassador of Switzerland.
Dobre večer, grüezi. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, I know I'm in a very tight spot here. I stand between you and the closure of the conference. So let me be very brief and make 4 remarks. The first remark, thank you very much for your committed comments and contributions as speakers, but also as I stand between you and the closure of the conference. So let me be very brief and make 4 remarks. The first remark, thank you very much for your committed comments and contributions as speakers, but also as participants. And I'm aware you come from many different circles interested in transitional justice in Bosnia and Herzegovina. You come from victims associations, you are judges, you are prosecutors, you come from the international communities, you are professors, journalists, representatives of civil society. You come from all over Bosnia and Herzegovina. And you discussed essential aspects of the legacy of the ICTY. And I understood very much in your discussions that such discussions are still painful to you. And I think one of the important legacies of the ICTY is that you continue these discussions and you discuss with each other, showing respect, mutual respect to each other. This, for me, is an essential obligation out of the legacy of ICTY in your country. Second, we all know that human rights violations do not happen in the abstract. They affect real people in real situations, in their homes, in schools, among family, among friends. Accordingly, the work of justice must be made to people in their daily lives. It's a task that now lies with your courts, with the courts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but not only with the courts, also with civil society. Justice, on the one hand, needs to be rendered, but it needs also to be seen to be rendered. And this is a basis, is groundwork for future reconciliation. Third, let's keep in mind that the ICT legacy refers to the past and to the future. My dear colleague, Deputy Mayor Miroslav Šivanović, he quoted the basic document on transitional justice. On the one hand, we look to the back. There, the victims and their families, they have to be at the center, without any discrimination. They have the right to know. They have the right to get assistance, and they have the right that justice is rendered. And we all owe them human compassion. On the other hand, we look to the future, and we have to make sure we have to take all the measures we can take that such atrocious human rights violations never happen again. Da se više nikada ne ponovi. 4, and last, when we look to the future, let us also think of the young generation. And it's important to give the young generation a positive perspective. Many of the speakers have referred to that. Also, Alma Maršić with your Youth Initiative for Human Rights. When I talk to the young generation, no matter what ethnic group they belong to, no matter which part of Bosnia and Herzegovina they come from, they all want good education, also in recent history and in human rights. They want good professions. They want jobs so that they can earn a living for themselves and their families. And, ladies and gentlemen, other countries do it successfully. Bosnia and Herzegovina can do it as well. Hvala vam puno. I conclude this conference as over. Thank you very much. Hvala vam.
This concludes our conference. Thank you once again for your attendance and your patience. We will remain in touch. We will organize a series of similar conferences next year as well. I would like to thank everyone from the outreach program who helped this conference take place. Thank you very much.